Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really grateful you decided to be here today.
I'm grateful that you decided to have me. It's special to connect with a person from such a long time ago in my past.
I know it's kind of crazy. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Well, I guess this can help us dive into where I want to go because I feel like we go so far back, and in some ways, you're like the same person, but you've also grown obviously like immensely.
Yeah, same
And for
here.
those people that are listening, even though we are pre-recording this, Nailah and I went to high school together and middle school together.
Middle school. I feel like we have to say the middle school part because that
Yeah,
woman's choir moment was real. Oh,
with Mr. Crocker.
yes, of course. I still have those songs in my head. I
Wait,
don't
what
know
were
if you
they?
remember. There was this one. It was like it was like the rhythm of life.
And the rhythm of life is a
It's a
terrible
powerful
beat.
beat to the rhythm in your fingers and the rhythm in your feet. And like we were
Remind
really bad because we had a bunch of non-singers in that group.
anybody could get into women's choir. There were no barriers to
Exactly.
anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Anybody could get in.
yeah, yeah. It was bad, but it was fun, and it like kind of fulfilled like a requirement that we needed or something.
Exactly. Good times.
Um, well, I okay, like I feel like we didn't become closer until like high school and like when we did concert singers and we started singing together. And I
Yeah.
just remember I wasn't an instrumentalist back then. I was like a singer, but you were always like to me like a really natural like guitar player and piano player, and then you were like studying opera. Like, can you tell me a bit about like where music even just began for you, and like did you teach yourself all those instruments, or like where did it start?
So I played piano, and took lessons since I was little, and that was kind of facilitated through the church that I grew up in. My
Mhm.
dad was a pastor, and
Oh my God, I didn't
the
know that.
lady, yeah, yes, during Brentwood and everything. But yeah, so played piano all through my life, and then also another person at the church much later, I think when I was like 13, taught me a few guitar chords, and so I started writing songs. Oh, started writing songs on guitar. I'm just thinking about that time period. So sweet, so innocent and pure.
Well,
And
it's kind of nice. It's a nice time when you're just like writing
yeah,
kind of weird shit, maybe.
exactly. Right, like um uninhibited by like expectations. You're just truly exploring because you literally haven't lived enough to like expect anything of
Yeah.
yourself. But anyways. Yeah, so guitar was like the writing tool I feel like for most of the my youth. And I mean, yeah, I'm just thinking back to how I was so sure that I wanted to be engaged in the opera zone, and I was like, I'm gonna be a contralto and all of
Oh my
this
God.
stuff.
Like at how old?
Um, I think I was like 14, 15, and truly, Mr. Hilbert. I
Good
haven't said his
old
name in a long time. Wow, that just really hit me. Mr. Mr. Hilbert was part of my like sort of um realization, and I mean that we could go down a whole pathway with
in
Mr. Hilbert and all of
wait,
that.
in a positive way?
Well, that's the thing. Yes, in a positive way,
It's okay if
but
it wasn't.
also
Also, for people
connect.
who don't know this, Mr. Hilbert was our concert singers teacher in high school.
Right, right, and you know, there's lots that you can say about Mr. Hilbert, but yes, he was like, yeah, like you should try singing opera. And then I also remember I took a voice class at SMC when I was like 14 or something like that, and the teacher of that too was like, "Oh, I should sing opera," even though in retrospect, I feel like they were just like, "Wow, a black girl with a low voice who like knows about classical music. Let's tell her she should be an opera singer." You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that that's wrong to do, but I just thinking back, I'm like, I wonder why they thought that, you know?
Yeah, they like put you in a bit of a box.
Right, but I don't mean to sound angsty about that. It's just an observation.
Yeah, and like I mean, it seems like you've channeled pieces of that, but like you've you've still created your own identity like through all of those like through that exposure, I think.
Sure,
But
definitely.
I remember having like a conversation with you about you being passionate about opera and me being like, wow, that's so like I've never met anybody who just like wants to sing opera. So was that like something you genuinely wanted, or was that what like other people were telling you to do?
At the time, it is what I genuinely wanted, I think, because yeah, to have a genre that celebrates um, low, rich voices, um, I think that was enticing. But then also, yeah, like the melodrama of opera and like the storylines and it being so like having such flair, which I have to say, as I grew older, I was like, I hate this, like this is dumb kind of thing because it's too dramatic and it's silly. Having said that, I feel like it's evened out to where now, sure, I'll um, listen to a little bit of Purcell or something. I listen to some pieces from operas, but I'm not a person who's like, let's go to the opera, you know?
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, weird.
When I think of opera too, I only think of like really, really, really high, like soprano singing. But like, is that
Right.
not it? And I feel like I remember literally your range. It's so funny when you're in choir with somebody, you like know
Yeah.
people's ranges.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like
yeah.
I remember your range expanding a lot.
Well, see, and that's another interesting thing. Like, I I always felt like an alto or a contralto.
Right.
We were altos together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or soprano twos. Oh, anyways, I feel like Mr. Hilbert like kind of pushed me into the higher range because
Yeah,
he
you went up. I remember you moved up.
and I swear it was because he wanted somebody and I hesitate to say this, but I feel like I have a
Anything.
good enough ear, like in terms of pitch and stuff.
Yeah.
And especially back then, being in the like choir environment, I miss that by the way, just having when you're singing with other voices, you're more aware of the accuracy of your pitch. But anyways, I feel like he just wanted a section leader that had an ear, but not because I actually had a high voice. So it was like
Oh, you were
mm,
section leader.
once I moved up, yes. And so I really think it was for that purpose and not because I had an exceptionally high voice. But having said that, I remember singing Summertime from Porgy and Bess, and I'm pretty sure there's like a high C in there. I tried to sing it and I remember it being very like, wow, this is very high and it's hard. But yeah, I don't identify as a soprano any longer. However, sorry, I'm going in circles, but just
You're good.
riffing here. I feel like lately I've been trying to engage my higher range or yeah, like just explore up there and work on that section of my voice because it's easy to hide in the ease that I feel in my low register.
Yeah, wow, I can totally relate to that because it's just like more natural.
Right. You don't have to try as hard, but then there's also kind of like you're not as gathered or something when you're singing
Yeah,
low
yeah.
and you're required to kind of like lift everything metaphorically, physically, etc.
And like yeah, and like do
Sing
work
higher.
and like practice and do the exercises and it's annoying.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. Just a little too much work, but you know, this is a year for work. Like
Does it, does it feel that way for you?
it does, it does. I feel really excited about that. I feel like I'm being called to action in terms of technique in like all areas of my life.
Wait, I feel similarly, and I want you to say more. This is
I feel like we
inspiring.
were talking about this, just like, you know, as a, I don't want to say singer songwriter type. I would love to talk to you about that, like the label of singer songwriter. But
It's honestly the worst phrase,
it's the
but
worst. It's cringy for some reason, but it describes what both of us do. Like,
yeah,
I don't
I
know.
mean, I view you as like so much more than that. I view you as like a composer, and like they're all
Right.
we're all composing.
Exactly. That's the thing. Why distinguish between a composer and a singer-songwriter? And I guess we're saying that a composer doesn't do as much as a singer-songwriter, even though I feel like there's more respect for a composer than there is for a singer-songwriter.
Yeah, I
And maybe that just is because, and ooh, this sounds terrible, but lots of people have acoustic guitars, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And I think that I think that composer implies that you are engaging a wide variety of instrumentation,
And like you
um,
are, and you know how to like read
arranged for them.
music, you know arrangement,
Right.
it
Right.
hasn't been, I mean, I'm sure it feels way less saturated by like the really average singer-songwriters of the world.
Sure. Exactly. Exactly.
I
Maybe
mean,
it
I
is
just moved
about that.
to Nashville.
I know. Congratulations, by the way. I'm so happy for you. It feels like the place that makes the most sense for you,
That
at least
means a
from the
lot.
outside looking in.
That means a lot. We'll see how it goes. But
For sure.
I do feel really aware of like, I mean, it's been literally less than a week, but I am aware of like, oh, everybody has a guitar here, and I'm not even, I'm literally like learning guitar right now. I'm not really a guitar player, but um, yeah, I'm just aware of that market is incredibly saturated, and like
Sure.
in that regard, I feel like it's the songs, it's the perspective, it's your voice that needs to cut through.
Exactly. Which we all know your voice cuts very deep. Love
You're
it.
very sweet. I feel the same about you. Okay, but wait, what were we saying? We were talking about composing. You feel like this is a year for you
Oh, right.
where you want to like
Being a singer-songwriter. Right. I we were talking about this before, just the idea of like playing for yourself, right?
yeah.
And
Yes. Oh my
and
God.
I think that as what I'm writing for myself develops and becomes more complex, my technique needs to develop with that. And so especially for harp, I mean, it's just like, yeah, I feel like I'm finally hitting this wall where it's like I'm almost not able to play what I'm writing for myself, which, you know,
Wow.
thank God for my teacher, because literally I
Wow.
just hit her up and I'm like, hey, can we have a lesson? Like, I can't play my own song. Can you help me? And then she
Wow.
does. Yeah.
Okay, wait. Tell me what your like composition process is like. Like like
Hmm.
like when you say you're writing something that like you don't know how to play. Like are you literally notating on sheet music? Are you on your computer? Are you like how does it look?
So I rarely notate with sheet music. I feel like that's only if I am giving it to someone else to record. Um, but I feel like even just the chord structures, right? Like with with harp.
God, it's hard.
Um,
Does she have a
yes,
name?
yes. This one is called Alaish. It's a boy.
Elise. I'm sorry, I cannot assume gender.
But yeah, no,
Elise.
a couple other ones have some sillier names. Maybe we'll get into, but no,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it comes down to patterns very often with harp, and so for example, if you are playing a four-note chord, right, like C major seven, fine. You can like pattern that out in a nice way, no matter what the inversion, right? But let's say we want D9 and the sharp 11, right? Like I'm already having to use my feet to get the sharp 11. Then I'm deciding which fingers are playing which note in the pattern, and making more decisions because there's more elements
Yeah.
involved, right? Like there's only hmm, that's not right. I was gonna say there's only four ways to play a C major seven chord. That's a fucking lie. But I'm just saying like within like an octave. Oh God, now I'm going down like a weird theory thing. But
Fine.
you know
Go
what I'm
down a
trying
weird
to say.
thing. Also, all of this is editable. So, like,
Right, right. Thank. Okay, yes, good. I'm like, please. Yeah, no.
no, you're fine. You're totally fine.
Um, but yeah, that and also just even speed. Like I want to play faster music this year because I
I
play
feel I totally feel that way as well. Like have some energy.
upbeat,
Not that you don't have.
upbeat.
Yeah.
And I that's the thing. I love a languid like kind of I don't want to say morose, but just like a little bit sad, a little bit like are you okay kind of music.
I
Um
totally feel that.
right, but I do also feel the pull finally, even though, I'll never forget one of one of the earliest shows that I ever played. This was when I was still playing guitar a lot. And I was in a band with my friend, one of my oldest friends, Sophie. We were in this band called Scarlet's Picnic together,
God, I love that
and
name.
and we would play, uh, just like acoustic, finger picked music with harmony, and it was lovely, pastoral, and like a little emo, right? And
Yeah.
my dad, I remember after our first show, he was like, "The music you play is really sad." And I was just like, oh, like that kind of hurt my feelings.
I
But then I'm like, wait, but it is sad. And like, sorry that you weren't ready to be saddened at this live music
nice.
event.
I'm glad you said that because literally, I mean, my parents say the same exact thing, and I sometimes I wonder if it's like if it's a parent thing of like they want to know that you're like okay, and it's like you don't understand that this is like how I express myself, and it's a really
Yeah,
good way to express sadness.
yeah.
But also, I remember I was working at a restaurant last year, and there was like a regular, he was like a dude, and my friends at the bar were like, "You need to listen to her music." Um, and he came back in and he was like, "I listen to your music." He was like, "It's really sad. Like, why is it so sad?"
Like the
And it
first
like,
comment, you're like,
and I'm like, it's sad because of dudes like you, honestly. Like, you guys make me sad.
exactly. And
But
that, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
No, no, no. I cut you off. I agree heavily with that.
But I understand like I imagine part of how, well, I don't want to speak for you, but when you naturally, at least for me, like when I like am naturally writing music and it's sad, it's not like trying to be sad. That's just like where you're at, and that's catharsis for you. And I imagine that's similar
Exactly.
for you.
Exactly. Exactly.
But you're
And
saying you're craving a little
energy,
catharsis.
like excited, um,
Yeah.
activating sounds, and I think, there's a way to get there with synths, like very easily, obviously. You just press a button or turn a knob and it's doing double time, like, but I think there's something about being able to play very quickly and brightly on a harp with clean technique that is just like kind of invaluable, and I'm determined to get there. Um,
Wow.
so I'm just like working on harder pieces. Um, by the grace of my great teacher, Lizzie, who, if anyone's ever looking for a harpist, you should call her. And,
Okay. A lot of
yeah,
people are,
Lizzie
honestly.
Steiner.
And
Yeah,
people like, yeah, people will be happy to hear about that.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, how did you and the harp come to be?
Hmm. So,
Because I remember there was like you before harp and then you after harp.
yeah,
And
I
I
I
feel like
swear.
something's for you.
You have like kind of seen the whole thing develop from seed to now. Do you remember the piece a ceremony of carols that we sang. I think it was with the women's choir. Like it wasn't even like the good singing.
Wait, how does it go?
I mean, it was like a maybe you weren't in concert singers at that time, but it
Wasn't in. First of all, I was never a section leader. He never wanted me to be a section leader because I was not as committed as you. So, and
that's
I didn't get
funny.
into concert singers early in like I, I didn't get in until junior year. I wasn't there till juniors and senior year.
Oh, then no, no, no. That's what it is. So there was the women's choir in high school, which you did
Yeah.
have to audition for, but it wasn't as like hard to get into as the other one. And I was in the women's choir, I think in 10th grade or maybe ninth grade. No, but actually I think Ceremony of Carols might have been whatever. Going on and on. I'm just saying there was a piece
Yeah.
uh, that we did that had a harpist playing one of them, and I remember she had a style 15 Lion and Healy, like this like gilded crazy harp, and I remember saying maybe to you or just like somebody who was in my section, mark my words, I'm gonna have a harp one day, like
Oh
after
my
like watching
God.
the rehearsal. And so I feel
Wow.
like that was like really the seed, even though before that I had always been interested in it in the same way that like most young girls are interested in having a horse, like you just kind of are like, yeah, like that'd be so
Horse or harp? Horse or harp?
yeah, exactly. And my parents were like, neither. So yeah, it was just kind of a dream. And then I met somebody who gifted me a small harp.
Was it red?
Um, yes, the small red harp. And I just remember you being like, you did it, you got the harp. And I started performing with that thing like straight away, which in
Wow.
retrospect, I'm happy that I did that. I'm happy that I just like went full speed ahead. But I think others, and that's the whole thing. Thinking about others in whatever genre, whatever instrument, in whatever aspect of your life is always kind of a fool's errand, like we don't need to think about others. But
So hard. So
I
hard not to.
think that the harp thing, it's and I've found different ways to talk about this as I've healed from wounds surrounding harp. But
Hmm.
yeah, like it's a bit of a closed off community. It's a bit of a like, oh, she has what kind of harp? Like that's not even a harp. Like like
Wait, no
like
way.
that
It's
kind of
like
thing.
a pretentious as fuck community.
Yes, and I obviously it comes from it being associated with like aristocracy back when they were making the first ones of this version. And I think that, you know, we project our own feelings about ourselves into situations sometimes, and I can allow for the fact that like being insecure about my harp journey, like not having started as a young child, all of these different things, factored into me being like, oh my god, she doesn't take me seriously because I have this, small shitty harp, like all of that. But also that is a thing, and like people, literally having said mean things, like there's no
Wow.
question of that. Um,
Wow.
but
So
all
that's
of
what you're
that,
referring to when you say like some of your healing around it, like just trauma
exactly,
from the community.
exactly. And so like thinking of myself using that little red harp like to play chords with one hand, sweet child, like trying to sing within whatever. it's
Yeah.
it's like I don't I did mm, I'm deciding not to be embarrassed about it because
I'm
I
so
was
glad you did
young,
that.
and I wanted it, you know what I mean? And so now seeing someone else, you know, harp is having a resurgence right now. And I think it's because everyone is in need of healing, and everyone knows that there's something very special and healing about I don't want to say frequencies because I'm not even coming from the like new age perspective, like healing tones, but like, like it's a calming sound. and it's very
Yes.
specific. And so I think a lot of people have gravitated towards that instrument. There's also, let's be real, a rise in um, the appreciation of nerdy things like fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff that I loved from before, girlfriend.
Me
Okay.
too. Nice. You've been on that train for forever ago. Like you were always into like the mermaids and the anime and the goddesses, like pre-Instagram, like pre when everything was a fucking Pinterest board.
Yes.
That's
I
always
love that you know.
yeah, and I was always like, oh, she's weird, but in a really good, but in an amazing way. I was like, oh, you just like have your fucking like niche and you like know what it is. And
Totally.
now
Totally.
the world fucking capitalizes on all that stuff, for better or for worse.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
what
It's real.
I'm curious about the resurgence. Like, how is that? Like, how are you aware of that? Are you aware of just like other artists like entering the community and it feeling like saturated? Are you aware of like way more opportunities to perform in new spaces? Like, what does that look
All
like?
of
Because that's
that.
something I'm foreign to.
Yeah, I would say all of that. Like, you know, yeah, there are a lot more singer-songwriter girls who are playing harp. And like
Oh,
the thing
we
the
hear
thing
that?
that I described of like, oh my God, like I was playing, this King Cruel cover with one hand, like my sweet little self thought I was playing harp at that moment, which parentheses I was because I'm not a judgmental harp person. But, seeing that happen for other people, I'm just like, okay, this is a journey that a lot of people are deciding to take, which I can only be happy for. That is beautiful. Having said that, yeah, like sometimes it feels a bit saturated and like, LA is a very interesting place and like uh mm, without being disrespectful, there are certain neighborhoods and venues where you can guarantee that you're gonna find somebody playing harp in a way. Now, I don't want to sound mean. Mm,
I want you to, but I also don't want you to. I'm like, say whatever the fuck you want, but I
I'm,
also want you to have
yeah, yeah. I
whatever.
I'm finding the wording. It's
Yeah.
it's about I don't want to say aimlessness or yeah, it's just like unstructured because like you can do a glissando on a harp and it sounds really good. The thing that everyone thinks of when they
Oh,
think of
that's a
harp.
glissando where like you like kind of go through the
Yeah,
whole.
across the thing just with one
Okay.
finger. And
I see.
and and I love that. And I think we all love that sound, but uh it doesn't require technique.
Right.
So when you go over to Topanga Canyon and see some girl with a medicine drum that she made at a retreat or whatever, and then she's doing the glissandos and she's like singing as if they're chords, but they're not. And then you wonder, like, does she know about chords and
Right.
all of that stuff comes up, and that's where I sound mean, but it's just an
No.
observation, and we all grow. We all, like, thinking back to any sort of beginnings for a relationship you have with an instrument, there's always going to be moments where you're like, ooh, like that's
Well, I want to quote you because you said this to me when we had lunch. I don't know if that was like a month or two ago, but I am clichely pretty brand new to like electric guitar, and I was so scared to play it live, but I was like, I need to just like, but I need to, and I want the challenge.
Yes,
And you were like, you're in process with yourself and
yes,
like you're just sharing where you are at in your process, and then we sort of came to the realization that like that's all it ever is. There's never an arrival.
exactly.
And I think some people do that more mindfully than others. Like clearly you are
Yeah,
very mindful about it because you're so invested in technique. Like I think that's probably where you differ from a lot of people. Like you seem to love technique where most humans are quite lazy and are just doing things to get to the next rung, like ring on the ladder, whatever that looks like.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I get that. And I'm invested in technique, but doesn't feel like it. Doesn't
Well,
seem
I think
like
we all
it.
have imposter syndrome of like,
Yes, yes, yes. I read a silly meme today that was like, imposter syndrome is out and delusions of grandeur are in. And I'm like, yes, I am an amazing harpist. I'm
I
fucking doing it, okay?
I need that. I need that. You are doing it, girl. You're like a pitchfork harpist, artist. You
Oh,
are. Like, do you
no.
ever feel like you're not real? I'm only asking.
Wow, I love that question so much. I like need a dose of mushroom tea right now. I always feel like I'm not real, to be honest. But not in the way that it seems that you're thinking. Like I just want to continue improving at everything that I'm doing, and it's an interesting thing. And yeah, would love to hear what you have to say about this too. Like the idea of like, I don't want to say blooming in public, but like
Yeah.
learning in public,
Oh, so
public,
scary.
having a process in public, and it's like even when you put out a record or a single, like it's a stamp in time, and people can listen to it at any point and be like, oh, this is what that person is made of. Meanwhile, you may have progressed a whole, bound, a leap
Yeah.
beyond that, but that's their perspective on you now. You see what I'm saying?
Of course, like you're never fully, it's really hard to
Never
actually
fully
be,
seen.
yeah, or like in line. It's very hard for like the timing of where you are to line up with your releases and like have
Yeah,
that all kind of blend.
yeah,
Like some people are just like releasing shit in real time, and I'm kind of like, how do you do that? Like I personally sit with things for way too long, and then I'm kind of past it by the time it comes out. I'm like ready for the next thing,
yeah. I get that.
which kind of sucks sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, like how long do you, well, you just put out a song, didn't you? Or like was it a collaboration with other,
Yeah, it was a collaboration. I'm really happy about it actually. It's my friend
it's
Alex
beautiful.
Hamburger. Thank you. Who I've been playing with him since college. And I mean, I got to shout out Alex Hamburger. Like he and I were in the in the trenches, if you will. Like bringing my like I'm going to see if I can twist it so you can see my other little harp over there.
Yeah,
That's
you should
glory. But like
everyone so
bringing that harp into like bars and like playing songs about spells, and people just being like, like what? You know what I mean? But that's the thing. It was so formative and like kind of just yeah, that's my weird brother kind of thing. And I'm really excited that we're still making music together. And yeah, the drummer also went to school with us, and then my partner played synth on it. So yeah,
Oh, wait, tell me your partner's name again.
Cadmar. Yes, Cadmar
And
Fitzhugh is his full name or whatever.
well, I want to get to him after this, but but I also, how long? Like I asked about that too, to give sort of a framework of like, when did you finish that song versus like like when did it come out? Like how long
Hmm.
did it take?
Yeah, I feel like that song we we got that together in like May. Um
I'm like, what
and
month is
then
it? Oh, it's January.
yeah, like almost a year. But
Yeah.
and that was, Alex kind of masterminded the whole thing in terms of it being like a release. Like he wrote the song and we just like played on it.
Okay.
Um but in terms of my own releases, I feel like I learned a little lesson in terms of like that whole, oh, I haven't put something out in a while, let me put something out just for the sake of putting it out, right? Like that's what you don't want to do. And I did that, and I don't want to say I regretted it because everything that you do is a learning moment on
Yes.
whatever journey you're on. But it definitely, I admire the people who like put something out and then don't put something out for another 5 years, but both projects are like just saturated in everything that that person is versus it
Mm,
just being like a fleck here, a fleck there.
yeah.
And so yeah, I mean my full length album is now slated to come out in fall 2023. So there's going to be like a pretty big gap between like my last personal release and this next one, but the work that's being done on it now is very important, and like it's not the sort of thing where you want to rush it because then you won't be able to look back on it and say yes, this is exactly how I wanted it to sound, which is kind of the point of releasing music. Like, yeah.
It's so hard to like stay clear about that. Like
Yeah.
I feel or in the past I've been really confused, and it's like hard not to like look over your shoulder and watch people releasing stuff all the time, and like how fast things move, and I don't know if
Hmm.
it's exactly the same in like the more ambient harp space, but it's definitely that way in the pop world or the singer-songwriter world or whatever. It just
Yeah.
feels like you have to take them out. But yeah, I do really respect people who take time, and each project is like really deliberate.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard.
It is. It is. And I think like getting in line, or not getting in line, just getting in relationship with people who want to facilitate the best
Mm,
thing versus like get something out so we can like
yes.
try to get it placed so that you know
Yeah.
what I mean, like that.
Yeah.
Those are the people who you're looking for. And I don't know, in the dystopian hellscape that we're all living in right now, I think musicians are relying more and more heavily on things like placements and writing music for commercial like projections versus like this is what's on my heart kind of thing. And so I
Hmm.
think yeah, uh, being successful, it sometimes feels like you need to like in order to be successful, you need to keep putting things out just to be like throwing things at the wall. But
It's like relevant, whatever that looks like.
right, right. And that is just not a way to live. Like
Mm,
we're all relevant whether we are um visible. Visibility is the thing that everyone is so excited about. Oh, they have these many followers. Oh, like these many people know them. They know these people. But what if we just kind of put that to the wayside and made exactly what we wanted? Maybe then whatever you made would be so powerful that it would just get all of the placements and you would never have to work again. I'm
yes.
like
Yes.
in a perfect
Like,
world.
do you feel like you're making exactly what you want?
Yes, this record that I'm working on right now is absolutely the amalgamation of everything that I've learned, everything
Mm,
that I enjoy about making music, everything that I want to hear. I feel like everybody's
mm,
been passing around that video of Rick Rubin being like, fuck everyone else and just make what you want to listen to. And like, even if no
yeah.
one hears it, like, at least you have that thing to listen to for yourself. And
Yeah.
I think the things that I'm proudest of, and maybe the things that other people resonate the most with, are the things that I wanted to hear, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's such a powerful it's such a powerful experience and like trial. I don't know if that's the right word, but just to just fully listen to your vision
Yeah,
and like honor it and then bring it in the world and see what happens. Because when it
right.
clicks, I imagine that's really powerful. Has the potential to
Totally.
be really powerful of like, oh yeah, this is just exactly what I fucking want. I'm not listening to anybody else and I'm just
Right.
doing me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then you know when it clicks, it's clicking because it's you.
Right. Which is that much more profound. Yeah.
I'm so excited to hear it.
Yeah, I want to send you some tracks that are in development, but just so you can hear it. It's quite different, although maybe not quite different. Like you can hear the traces of the past and also my influences in it, and I'm excited about it.
Can you share like some of your influences if you don't mind?
Yeah, I feel like I feel silly saying it aloud, but Little Dragon is just kind of like the the one, you know?
Little
And I
Dragon's amazing. That's not silly at all, but it's really cool that that's like a reference for because I bet you it shows up totally differently in your music.
absolutely. I mean, exactly. Like when you think of influences, it's always so fun because you're like, wow, this seems to have nothing to do with this person's work, but then you find little glimmers. But anyways, yeah, Little Dragon definitely a lot of that in there, and then also just like the vibey sort of like early 2000s. I want to say trip hop. It's not trip hop, but it has um glimmers of that stuff in it, like telepop music, esthero, um,
Oh my
I don't
God,
know.
that
And then
sounds
of
amazing.
course, you know, like we've gotta do the harp stuff. So that's you know, I don't know, Celtic, whatever, all that. And then Imogene Heap, which I feel like you might have an Imogene Heap thing as well, but yeah, that's definitely a north star for all of my musical endeavors.
Oh my God, those are like some of the most epic influences. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Okay, well, before I let you leave, because I guess we've been here 41 minutes, but it's been 41 minutes of glory in my eyes.
Yeah.
I kind of, part of what I loved what we spoke about last time that I did want to talk about a bit was like kind of rethinking lifestyle in this new kind of post-COVID world and
Yeah.
like I don't know if you've talked to your friends about this and what, but just like your thoughts on like living a more like rural life and leaving the city and like some of those hopes and dreams and like what that looks like in tandem with continuing your artistry, obviously, because I think a lot of people are trying to find ways to like continue their art and careers, but also do so in a way and in a place that feels like e- soothing and where there's
Right.
ease and it's not just about going and going and going.
Yeah. I think I mean, since we last talked there have been some developments. Basically, yes, initially I was like we are literally picking up and taking everything. We are leaving LA and we will live in the forest and only emerge when we simply have to, right?
And
And
what's up? What's the reality now?
right. Well, the reality is that we're doing that still, but we're going to keep our place in LA and we're going to, you know, make sure that there's still a way to live comfortably here and um I don't even want to say it like we're visiting here because it's like we need to have a foot in both
Yeah,
locations in
yeah,
order for it to feel easy to
yeah,
just pop back over
yeah.
and so yeah, like in investing in um kind of like a I don't want to say a truncated version of like what's going on in LA for us right now, but just yeah, like it can't be all in all out because absolutes are not really a thing, you know?
Yeah,
Like that's not how it works.
yeah.
Having said that, I've been thinking a lot about seasonal living, right?
Mm.
Like so living in the summer in our wooded cabin seaside joint and then living here in the winter because let's face it,
You're a
I
Cali
don't
girl.
yeah, like I don't want to be frozen. And yes, I do want the challenge and I am excited about the rigor that comes about from placing yourself in an environment where you have to be aware,
Yeah.
right? And that's anything outside of like the city center, right?
Yeah.
Things like,
Nature has its
oh,
own plan, and you have
exactly.
to.
Nature has its own plan. You better have firewood because the power might go out, and you don't want to freeze to death in your own house. Do you have a
Yeah.
wood stove? Like all of that kind of very serious, like real stakes. I want that,
Hmm.
but also like why make life harder for yourself if you don't have to? Now here's another thing. I think I am very 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 lucky to be in this particular position where I can do both and like keep both places hot, if you will. But
Yeah.
if I had to choose, I would still go and leave LA because it's about peace and it's about the longevity of your life. Like city life,
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about like oh the chemicals that we're exposed to living in the city, even though like we could go into that.
We
But
are for
but
sure.
more just like what your spirit is exposed to and like the pace of it all, like you were saying, like it's just about slowing down and focusing on more tangible things, activities that are like one to one, right? Like I'm catching dinner, I'm chopping down these trees so that we have a fire, not like
Yeah.
I'm taking these photos to send to these people to da 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 da. But then that's the thing, that's still going to be involved in my
Yeah.
life
No,
if
I
I have a
yeah.
career. So yeah, it's a weird back and forth. It definitely is.
I respect the how realistic you're being because you're right. It is very hard to just be like, I'm gonna go live in the woods for the rest of my life. And even some of these people who are doing that are like fully YouTubers. Like
Right,
they live in the woods.
exactly. Or like Enya, which like I'm not there yet, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, like like I've been following this girl who's like a YouTuber who lives in the woods. And I'm like, wow, this is like really cool. You're really doing it. But I'm also like, isn't it annoying like having to YouTube this all the time? Like,
Right.
and does that take you out of the living in the woods part? Like, you
Right.
know?
Okay, see, that is the key point here. Does it take you out of it? If you're taking video of everything, you're still in direct contact with your phone. So it's like what we're talking about actually, like the that removal from the hubbub of being in society, if you will. Like if you have a career, you're in society
Yeah,
and like I don't know if I'm ready to be like an actual hermit that like
totally.
takes care of everything myself.
Right.
Not because I don't feel capable, but just because like I still want connection with people and I want to have kids that aren't weird, you know. Like,
That
you
aren't
know,
like
they're like they
sensitive
have friends their own
and
age and stuff.
yeah, damn, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you raise a really good point, and I think it's about balance. And I'm personally trying to figure out the same thing. Like my time in New Mexico, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready for like, I need that, but I also need progress, and I'm not ready to like kind of retire. I can't afford that. I
Right,
don't.
right.
Yeah, there's so many things. Yeah, so I think yeah, in a way, I'm glad you answered the way you answered because it sounds like you guys are like you're well, I don't know, you've like genuinely thought about it in a realistic way and you're like, okay, we're
Well,
not gonna like
right.
100% do this. Like, let's find a way to make it feasible.
Exactly. I think it really came down to just like the time where is drawing near for us to be like, okay, we're pulling this trigger, but like how in what capacity, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, wait. I think I want to ask you like one or two more questions.
Yeah, no, I'm having a great time.
Me too. Um, what is something that scares the shit out of you, but you do anyway?
Oh. Performance in general, just like being on stage. And I actually I had a a little show the other day that right before it I went to the the spa and I like, you know, got a scrub and was
Wow.
in the Himalayan salt room and all that stuff. And so I felt very like in my body, which I think is often what gets me feeling all scared when I'm on stage. It's about not being in my body, right? So I was like,
Yes.
okay, cool. Like you're going into this, you're feeling in your body, but no matter what, being on stage is you're super vulnerable, and the
Yeah.
conversation here, more specifically, the conversation between songs, the like the talking, is the thing that just is it. I'm undone by it, and there was a while when
You are?
I am. There was a while that I like made my set so that it all blended together so I didn't have to talk. But also it was also aiming for like a, you know, you drop in at the beginning and then you like are let out and it's like in one fell swoop. And that has its place, but I think certain
Yes.
intimate venues are you they want to hear you talk. They want to hear you say, "Okay, like this is a song that I whatever." And then I'm just like, oh no, is it that I just don't like believe myself? Like, do I just not like how do I not like myself? And then I'm like, you know, going, it's like a whole weird spiral. So I'm really, really, really wanting to get into a comfortable place with performance etiquette um,
Mm.
in these next couple of performances, and there are a few that I feel like I'm like, oh, like I've always wanted to play there, and now I'm playing there, and like, what am I gonna say? You know?
Does it help you to, because look at how natural we are right now. Like you are such a, I mean, I know it's different being on a stage. Like it
Yeah.
is and it isn't. Does it help you to, um, I mean, I feel like planning stuff to say is kind of the worst move, but for some people that's helpful. Like, does it help you to plan stuff, or does it help you to just like leave it like, okay, between these songs, say something.
Yeah, I think planning is definitely the way for me to go because I feel like yeah, I just feel like when I get nervous, I just turn into the weirdest, most like not yeah, just like a weird person that is not confident. And so
That's not
it,
you.
yeah, exactly. Like that's not how I'm feeling when I'm playing. So it's about the like
Yeah.
and maybe it has to do with like the fantastical sort of like realm that I want to create when I play, and then like
Yeah.
me talking just like feels like it rips you out of that. But
Right.
yeah,
Like you break the fourth wall.
right. But I think there is a way to do it, and if not, I think I might just have some some like ambient like bird songs, like some crickets, some actual crickets, so that the crickets are by my hand and not theirs. Okay.
So fun. Oh my God. Wow. I'm excited for you. I feel like that's a good, I mean, even the fact that you're aware of it and it's an intention, I'm sure you're going to get more comfortable.
Thank
And
you.
then, yeah, I think it's a trial thing. And then you kind of see like, oh, did that work or did that not? And sometimes, I don't know about you, I do really well with feedback. I love when people are like, that thing you did right there was really good, you know,
Yeah,
like maybe you like accidentally say something that works and then you keep kind of carrying that with you through the other shows and
right.
it's all scary. Okay, so performing is scary for you. Good to know
Hate
because
it. Hate it.
I would have not thought about that.
What
But you
about
do it
you?
anyway, and that's what'd you say?
Sorry, I just said what about you?
Is performing scary for me?
No, no, just like what you do that you don't want to do.
Oh, that
Like,
scares the
yeah.
shit out of me that I do anyway.
Mhm.
Um, I hate, well, I don't hate it, I'm learning to love it, but performing by myself really scares me.
Right.
Um, which I told you this last time.
Right.
It really scares me because I'm very confident in my songs and I'm confident in my singing voice. I'm not confident as an instrumentalist. I just feel like a big fat imposter and I'm like that part is really uncomfortable for me. So I kind of, when I play shows by myself, I know that I'm capable of it because I've done it before.
Right.
But in my head, I still think of it as like it's way less good than if I have a band or even if there's one other human next to me. Like for some
Right.
reason, standing on my 2 feet in front of people just by myself is really scary for me.
Word.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
that, and also writing sessions are like, because I sometimes do writing for other people, and
yeah,
like writing sessions for other artists when there's another artist in the room is really, those scare me a lot.
I can imagine. That sounds absolutely wild. Like, but the payoff
It's so scary.
is good.
Everything's
Yeah.
kind of. I don't know about that.
It is. It's all a learning process. But yeah, I mean, just like interpersonal sort of stuff, and being in a room where it's like, okay, like I'm bringing, here's what I'm bringing, and this is why it's relevant, and then you just have to like stand firm in that kind of thing. Yeah.
It's so hard to, I think it's just so hard to be confident.
Yeah, and like this coming from you, who's like an extraordinary musician, I think it's safe to say like
Oh, that's
most
nice.
people who are artists have that little hair of a thought of like am I even like good at this? Like what's happening right now? And I think there are like there's a
That's why I
spectrum,
asked.
but
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm always a little and maybe this is a flaw of mine, but I'm always a little wary of people who like don't question themselves. I'm not saying like I only like people who doubt themselves, but it's just kind of like if you're like going full speed ahead, just like yeah, like I know about everything and I'm so da, 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 da. Like that is
Right.
the red flag. It is.
Yeah. No, well, it's, you make a great point because it's such a fine line of, I think continuing to question yourself is what forces us to grow.
Yeah,
But then, but then when that same voice is making us like feel small or being critical, that's when it's unhelpful.
exactly. And is but here's the question: is it the same voice? I don't think it's the same voice. I think it's like the one
Yeah,
that
you're probably
that
right.
is asking you to grow is of you, right? Because it's been evolving with you like ever since you started the journey. But the other one, the one that's like you are insignificant, this is terrible, why are you even doing this, that is like projections from like the noise outside of yourself, you know. And I
Yeah.
think it's really important to like just shut that valve off. And I feel like I am learning how to do that. Yes.
Mm.
And it comes down to being just like really sensitive about what I consume, who I talk to, even
Mm.
like what I listen to. Yeah, what I consume in general right before like a sensitive time, whether that's like I'm about to go into the studio and create or I'm
Wow.
about to play. I'm just like, well, I know I'm not talking to them, or like I know I'm not listening to the news or something. You know, like just really
Yeah.
intentional about what you're consuming.
Yeah. I love that. And that sounds like you have like a deep respect for yourself. I think that,
Trying.
yeah, just means like, yeah, no, I think that's kind of the goal. And it's like what I'm learning, like, you kind of have to go, you have to move past and move through all of those hindrances to like continue to make art and
Yeah.
feel real.
Yeah.
That's why I asked you that question. I was like, do you feel real?
Yeah. No. I mean I'm still unsure of like what that question even means, but
I know weird questions. I'll
no,
give
no,
it.
it's a great question. Like I feel like I'll be thinking about it the rest of the day. But but yes, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay, well, before you go, what is so you have your next album comes out in the fall, which is very exciting. That's not for a little while. What is it? It's winter right now. What is there anything you're promoting, you're sharing? I know you have some shows coming up.
Yeah, I have a show at Ambient Church in on the next Friday, and I'm already forgetting the name of the church, but it's through this event space called Ambient Church, and I'm opening for Suzanne Ciani, which I'm really excited about, and then
Oh,
I'm
amazing.
playing a show in London at St. Pancras Old Church, which is this beautiful, tiny little church in the city, and I'm really excited about that. And
When
yeah,
is that?
that's on the 10th of February. I forget the
Oh,
neighborhood that
that
it's in.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be fun, and I mean we're leaving for London on the 28th of January, so we're getting really close.
Wow, yeah, cool. Okay, well, I love you,
I
and
love
you
you.
are wonderful, and yeah, just keep making beautiful art. I feel like the world genuinely needs your art.
Oh,
Like, I
thank
think
you,
what you're doing
Katie.
is really healing and really special and like really serious in a positive way. Like, because I think you're really thoughtful about it. And so,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, it's always really nice to connect.
It means a lot. I'm very glad we got to do this, and yeah, keep being your fabulous self. I'm so happy you're in Nashville, about to crush the Nashville game.
Thanks. I
Mm.
hope so. I'm kind of like, thanks.
Yeah, I know you're doing it. Please let me know also if you find any like crazy nature spots. I never really spend time there, but I feel like it's kind of a really cool place to visit. So,
Well, I kind of want to explore like the Appalachian, like just like that whole area. I'm like, oh, there's vibes out there.
oh yeah,
Like,
yes.
and to chill, our girl Dolly Parton, that
Ah,
cover we did.
oh my God, Jolene, dude, so sweet, so sweet. I feel like there's like stills on the internet from that, like not even the video anymore, but just stills.
There are, and if I can find like some way to like edit that in here, I
Yes,
will.
you're
Next time.
like, hilarious. Oh, it was so wonderful to talk to you, Katie.
Yeah, you too. Okay, I love you, and we'll talk. This isn't the end, obviously.
For sure. All right, see you
Have a good
later.
one. Okay, bye, babe.